When we do roofing, property protection is critical. So in this case, we've run a net all the way across this front. We got tarps everywhere. And then over here, you can see we put plywood to protect this rose bush on the side. And that way, when we're tearing off, we're gonna protect all this beautiful landscaping the best we can, make sure that roofing material ends up in the dumpster where it's supposed to be and not all in the landscaping, tearing everything up. People always ask me where the roofing material goes, and what we do in an ideal situation is we get it delivered right on top of your roof. And what that does is it keeps it off the driveway, makes it a lot easier on the roofers. They don't have to hand load all this stuff because those shingles are heavy, and everything's ready for them, ready to rock when they're here to do the install. Once we've protected all the landscape, and the next step is to remove all the shingles and roofing material. That gives us an opportunity to inspect the wood. And you can see on this deck, even though it's plank board, we've got a lot of holes and there's some unevenness and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace that with new pine boards. That way we have a nice sturdy foundation to install the new roof deck on. We know we've got a good solid roof deck. The first step is we're going to install this metal drip edge, and what that does is that goes down along the gutter line, and that is going to flick the water out away from the house and into the gutters to make sure that everything drains off and it's not running back behind the gutter, and ensure that the protects the fascia and everything else. The way we do the intake ventilation on houses like this with no soffit is we make a 1-inch incision all the way around the eave, and then what we install is this is Lomanco, and it's called Deck-Air. And what that's going to do is that's going to allow airflow to come in through here and then go directly into that hole up the bottom of the roof system, and that's going to allow this to have the proper intake ventilation to code on a house that wasn't built for it. So once the Deck-Air is installed and it's going to be down there, we got to seal it. So what we do is we seal it with this is ice and water shield. It's CertainTeed's WinterGuard ice and water shields. It's a thicker rubberized membrane. It's an SBS material, so that means is when they put nails through it, it's going to seal around there. So what that's going to do is it's going to protect the roof deck around there. When it snows and ice and water sits on there, you don't have to worry about that stuff creeping through. But that's how we seal that down to the roof deck itself, which means we don't have to worry about it leaking, and it's going to perform the right way. We install a starter shingle, so that goes down on the top of the ice and water shield, gets nailed in, and what that's going to do is that's going to lock the shingle down. It's got adhesive in the end there, give you 150 mile-an-hour wind protection, and then we put the shingle on over top of it. And it's important the way we nail this within the nailing track, and get enough nails in each shingle so that you get that wind warranty. I'm gonna run out 2 full rolls of ice and water shield. What that's gonna do is give us 6 feet between the gutter line and the roof. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna protect against any kind of ice buildup from ice dams in the winter, and seal everything down. So we run 2 full rolls up. A lot of guys just do 3. We wanna make sure that this roof is completely protected and up to code. After we lay the ice and water shield, we install CertainTeed RoofRunner synthetic underlayment. What that's gonna do is gonna protect the rest of the roof deck from any water that might get in underneath the shingles. The synthetic's a lot better because it's not going to tear during install like regular felt paper would. So CertainTeed requires that as part of the Integrity Roof System, and that's how we get that 50-year warranty on the roof. Not only just nailing, we have to make sure we install the shingles in the correct pattern so the seams never line up and they are installed correctly across the roof deck. Pipe collars are very important to go around shingles. Happen at pipes, so we install brand new pipe collars on every single install. That way it's a new butyl or neoprene boot to make sure that this thing's never going to leak. Shingle of choice is the Landmark Pro CertainTeed Max Def. This one's in Shenandoah. When it's installed with the rest of the CertainTeed Integrity system, it's designed to last for 50 years with that 50-year warranty. It's got copper additives in there, so it's never going to grow any streaking, moss, or algae, and it's going to look good and perform. So you're not going to have to worry about your shingles flying off, anything like that. You got 150 mile-an-hour wind resistance warranty, and it really enhances the home's look just with the different shades and everything in there. The Deck-Air intake ventilation looks like when it's installed at the gutter line. So from down on the ground, you're not really going to be able to see it. It's not going to stick out too much. This is how we typically like to install them. This house was baffled, so we were able to do that. Now, a lot of times the insulation's backed up too much or it's not going to work, so we have to install it up the roof. You're going to get a little bump up there because this thing's about 3/4 of an inch thick. But in this case, this is how we generally like to install them. Still going to work really well, and it's actually more hidden in the roof line, so you're not going to be able to see it from the street. So when we're installing capping shingles, it's important we get it real straight. First, we snap a chalk line to make sure we don't have zigzags everywhere. And the second thing that's really important for us is we don't use like a 3-tab shingle. That's what they used to use. And the problem is those break down over time because they're not made for this application. In this application, what we're using is CertainTeed Shadow Ridge capping shingles. These are made specifically to cover the caps, the hips, and ridges. And what that's going to do is they're a lot thicker, and they're made to cover and bend. And that's really important because this area gets broken down really fast. Most of the time, we have to do a ridge vent. On this particular home, there is not enough ridge vent space because of this is called a hip roof. There's not enough area to get the correct exhaust ventilation. I did the calculations on it. So what we have to do instead is install 6 can vents. all the way across the back. Now, big problem with a lot of roofers do is they do not install these things correctly. They all have to be in the top third of the roof for exhaust, and they all have to be on the same face. A lot of times you'll see a mismatch, you know, more can vents on the back and then maybe some on the side, kind of like what we see over here. That's completely wrong. Oh, and plus there's also an attic fan on there. You cannot have all those together because they'll cross each other out. And the problem with that is that's not going to allow that roof to ventilate. That's where you get mold, premature shingle breaking down. So on this one, we have the intake coming in all the way up to the exhaust. And we've got 6 can vents across here, so it's going to ventilate properly and help this roof last. Another thing of significant importance is when you are getting your roof done, it's important your roofer inspects your chimney. If this thing is not sturdy or structurally sound, or the cap's up here leaking, or this isn't in place, it can cause all kinds of problems and you'll think you have a roof leak. So we always want to inspect the chimney, make sure all the mortar's good, bricks are good, not falling off, so that way we can tie into it when we tie our face in. We're going to grind that in there. And we're going to make sure that it's solid and not going to have any problems. This Taurus, our metal artist, you can tell so because it says so on his arm. And what he's doing right now is making this aluminum, bending it up for the chimney. And so what we're going to do is I'm going to show you how we're going to install this metal flashing around this chimney so that it's installed the right way and it won't leak anymore. Pre-bend every piece of metal up custom for each home we do because every home's different, but that way it's completely custom, and we're going to go ahead and insert that into the chimney. It's going to look really good from the ground and keep the water away. What we're doing here is he's marking this out and he's going to grind this into the chimney so that we don't have to worry about this ever leaking. You can see he truly is an artist, so we've got this designed so that all the flashing's done in what we call a weatherboard pattern. So you've got step flashing underneath that kicks out right here over top of this apron flashing, all tucked into the chimney. And once he's done inserting that into the chimney, he's going to come back with brown caulk and get this thing completely sealed up. The caulk's just more of a preventative measure. I mean, realistically, this thing won't leak, but even with the metal, but we still want to make sure there's no gaps anymore. So now that we have all the counter flashing underneath, the apron flashing installed, tucked into the brick, all the way around, we've gone ahead and sealed this up. So the other important thing here is the quality materials we use for the caulk. Even though the caulk is not as important, we don't want to rely on it as much because we are sealing up, we still want a product that's going to hold up over time, especially on the end of these capping shingles here. So what we use is either quad or solar seal. Now that's going to stay nice and flexible over the years, because the problem with like a cheaper caulk is going to dry out. When they dry out, then you're going to end up with a leak. So we use quality materials, quality caulk, just to make sure that this chimney is going to hold up, and they're not going to have any problems with it over the years. So that's a wrap on the CertainTeed Integrity 50-year roof system. So because we are Select certified, all of my installers are certified with CertainTeed. You do get that full 50-year non-prorated warranty on labor and material, 25 years on workmanship. It's really tough to beat in the industry for an asphalt shingle roof. And what's cool is because we have everything I talked about in this video, this system is going to perform. It's going to keep this roof deck nice and cool. It's going to let the shingles perform. We've got everything sealed up correctly. We've got correct capping shingles on here, so we know those are meant for that. They're not going to break down over time like a 3-tab would. And yeah, it looks beautiful. That's the other thing. This really enhanced the front of this home because of the depth of color and everything. It works with the bricks on the home, and it just looks really, really nice, ties everything together.